Right. Welcome to the conversation, everyone. So glad to have you here. I'm pumped to have a conversation today, not with one, but with two amazing people that I had the chance to meet recently, virtually meet, but hey, we're meeting everybody virtually these days. It's going to be a good discussion. And actually, I'm excited because they have a big announcement they've been in the midst of working through. And so we're going to help them kind of shed some light on that. So I'll go ahead and bring them up. We have Julie Devlin and Chaz Fields here. Welcome to both of you.
All right. Thanks, Ben. Thanks for having us.
Yeah, Ben,
Absolutely.
thanks so much. So happy to be here.
Yes, I'm actually going to push those logos up really quick because that was one of the things we talked about before we got started recording is when we set this up, it was Kronos and now it is UKG. So congratulations on that transition. Do you want to speak to it a little bit?
Yeah, so Ben, really exciting stuff happening here over at, it's going to be weird. What was formerly known as Kronos and Ultimate to now UKG. It's official. We're now UKG. This merger will form one of the largest cloud companies in the HCM or human capital management market. Our $3 billion in combined revenue is compared to Workday and SAP. It makes us larger than Oracle and 3 times larger than Ceridian. We're going to deliver an unparalleled combination of HCM and workforce management solutions to really help organizations across all industries manage people most effectively. So really exciting stuff, really great growth opportunity for our organization. And at the end of the day, going to make a major impact on our customers.
Yeah, absolutely. I echo everything that Chaz said. And, as a company, we're joining two really great cultures. As a former HR professional, I sort of nerd out on that kind of thing. So we're really excited for what the future holds. And we really like our new logo. It's a smiley face. Just you see it and you're automatically happy. So that's good. So, yeah, real excited to see what's going to happen moving down the road.
Awesome. Well, I know I've been watching this over the last few months since the original announcement was made. And one of the fun things that I've had to do over the years is I've actually made friendships with different salespeople, different marketing leaders at the different companies. And so it's been fun to see them like slowly but surely starting to get that vision together. And I'm just excited to see about how you and the team are going to continue serving the community because you're already doing good work. And that's actually part of what we're going to talk about today is some of the work that you do and how you enable that. So if you're okay with it, actually, before we start, let's do a quick intro for each of you so we know who you are and what you do. Julie, you want to go first?
Sure. Yeah. So my name is Julie Devlin. I am a senior partner, HCM advisory at now UKG, Ultimate Kronos Group. I have to get used to saying that. Chaz, I think you'll agree it's a little weird right now. But yeah, UKG, UKG.com. And I was an HR practitioner, VP for a little over 17 years. I'm also a graduate school HR professor. So at McDaniel College in Maryland. So I love HR. And again, real happy to be here and contribute to the community.
Yeah, that's important. I'm Chaz Fields. I'm a partner at the UKG HCM Advisory Group. I almost did it, Julie. I almost did it, Ben.
Yeah.
It's weird. It's new. Like Julie, I spent a lot of time in the HCM space prior to this job, where we spend a lot of time public speaking, doing things like this, SHRM, APA. You pick a show. We've probably spoke at it, which is really cool. Formerly implementation manager, and I was a large-scale construction project manager. So I spend a lot of my time consulting with organizations around change management, user adoption. And Julie and I both, pick an HCM topic or a buzzword, and chances are we've got some sort of strategy or a strategic consulting approach to where we can help organizations really invest in their people and make sure that anything from retaining top talent to a change management strategy is something that we do and services we offer. So thanks for having us, Ben.
Absolutely. Well, I'm excited to talk to some fellow HR nerds, right? Because before I did this stuff, I was in the trenches too, and so it's fun to reconnect and kind of rejuvenate my spirit a little bit about what's happening, what's out there, what's available. Sure. So part of what we were talking about before we actually came on live, I always think like we should start this 5 minutes early because we have some good conversations before we actually go live. We were talking about not just that part of this whole show is about HR technology and how it helps businesses and solve problems. But one of the other things we talked about is how it enables HR teams to solve other problems, right? Because it's handling the blocking, tackling, so we can actually be over here and doing these things that the business is looking for, the value they need from us. Would you be willing to just comment on that a little bit? Because I think that's one of the things I hate to see, the kind of us versus them, or like a vendor's a necessary evil in the HR space. Like, that's not the relationship we should be having. We should be looking for ways to partner more deeply and to leverage those things so that we don't have to do those things we don't want to do. They don't add much value, right? In terms of us spending all of our time on it. Let a tool, let a system, let a process handle that so we can do other stuff. Talk about that a little bit, if you don't mind.
Yeah, I think that's part of the reason that our team exists, right? To be a partner with our prospects, with our customers, and provide advisory services, provide consulting services, help them problem solve. We want to be more than a vendor. We do want to be that strategic partner, because it's not just sign the dotted line, here's the software. It's an ongoing relationship that we like to grow and cultivate and grow with companies. To move them through their HR journey.
Yeah, it's really cool. It's a really interesting topic, Ben, because Kronos and Ultimate do a fantastic job at their culture for their company, but more importantly, they focus on the customer, right? As Julie mentioned, our team kind of came together. We're really good at selling product, and that's okay. But our team, where we offer practical advice, is a little bit different. But I also kind of want to flip the script, right? Like, we as former practitioners, we've all bought and implemented software. We're now in 2020, where someone has always, has bought and implemented software at some point in their career. And one of the things that Julie and I often address when we discuss with customers what's going on, buyers are getting smarter, Ben, right? It's no longer becoming, okay, just solve my problem with this software. It's becoming that need for a partnership to really help and invest in their organization. And what's hard about that, and Julie, I know you can comment on this, is HR gets so inundated with the day-to-day, right? They get so inundated with those manual tasks. They get so inundated with being pulled in different directions. I know for me personally, why I went back and got my master's in HR is every day is different. Right? There's never the same day, right? The same day never happens twice. And we notice that as these buyers are getting smarter and smarter and smarter, yes, tech is going to help, but we really need to eliminate what we call the time suckers, so they can start moving forward to building the better culture, to creating an employee experience, to engaging your employees, to, you name it. We have to eliminate those things. And really the only way, or one of the many ways to do it, is with HCM tech. Julie?
Yeah, Chaz, you mentioned getting bogged down in the day-to-day. I've done several presentations in several venues on what I call the cost of doing nothing in HR. And what this is, that presentation is, it's really a commentary on my time as a practitioner. Because once I took this position, left the practitioner realm, I've now had all this time to think back. What do I wish I would have done differently? And what I noticed is that I was spending a lot of time on autopilot, right? So I was just going from day to day, dealing with the day to day, not having that future vision of, okay, what tools are available that's going to help me tomorrow, right? Or a month from now, to do my job better and to take stress away. And I think I was in HR department of one for a very long time. And I think, especially for smaller HR departments, it's super important that the tools are there, right? To make sure that you're efficient, you're effective, and also that you're retaining that proverbial seat at the table as a strategic partner and not just somebody handling transactions. So, we used to be seen as a profession as paper pushers. I think that is well in the past at this point. Yeah. But I do know there are still companies out there, large companies, that are using manual processes. And I just want to say, please look at what's available to you. move forward. Just take the plunge. It may be a lot of work in the beginning, but in the end, it's going to save time. It's going to save money, and it's going to ultimately ultimately improve the employee experience, which I know that's thrown around a lot, but especially with that buzz employee experience, employee engagement, that kind of thing is thrown around. But I think it really can't be understated, especially in these times, how important the experience we provide our employees is.
Yeah. Something to comment on that, actually, because I'd love to kind of bounce off of that a little bit. One of the conversations I've been having with a lot of companies in the last 6 months or so is they have had this refocus on the talent, because everybody realized that we can't just treat these people like they're autopilot anymore, because everything has been shaken up. And so we really got to actually pay attention to them and focus on them and make sure we're meeting their needs, and not just, yes, they're engaged and they've got their training, but also, are they safe and healthy, right? All those like basic building blocks, we took it all the way down to the basic level, and we have to really focus and reprioritize on the talent. And so that's part of this. Forgot where I was going to go with that part of it. But
it's okay, Ben. It's okay.
It happens to the best of us now. So I was going to go from there to the actual outcomes, because you mentioned experience, you mentioned retention and engagement. Like, you were talking about some of the actual outcomes, and I was going to try to connect those two things together. And maybe there's a way to connect them, because the people are ultimately how they perform on the job ultimately leads to the profitability for the business, how we serve customers, things like that. Sure, why not? That's a logical transition. Talk about some of those things that you see companies or HR leaders trying to. This is I'm having so much fun over here. My brain's just melting down, as you can tell, live. So talk about some of the things. Tell us about some of the outcomes that matter from a business perspective that HR leaders should be prioritizing. How about that? I'll just lay that one down, and I'll step away from it so that I can refocus.
So do you want to talk pre-COVID, post-COVID, during COVID, maybe all of them, right?
Some of them may have changed.
Sure.
If they have, I'd be curious to hear what your thoughts are on that.
Julie, you want to go?
Sure. Yeah. I think that one of the things, and I think, Ben, you might have touched on it a little bit, that safety and security perspective. And I think that there's going to be a hyper focus on that as we move forward, because of sort of what's been going on in the world, right? And I think that providing employees tools that provide communication, that provide them the information that they need at their fingertips, whether or not they're on premise or if they're having to work remotely. I think employers providing those things are going to increase the sense of security for employees. I think that's definitely one outcome that we're going to see. Would you agree, Chaz?
Yeah, that's spot on. The outcome is we have to maintain or build trust with our organization and our people at this point to give them the sense of security, to give them to build that trust, to say, hey, look, we care about you. We care about your health. We care about your safety. COVID has significantly escalated all of that, right? Like, we can agree that a lot of organizations, people don't want to go back to work simply because an organization doesn't have contact tracing, for their workforce, right? For me personally, if I was going in and out of an office every day, I would absolutely want to know who I came into contact with that was exposed, right? So that's one of the huge components, right? And the only way to build that trust is to prove to your organization that we've provided you with resources that are going to keep you safe, that are going to keep you healthy. Now, I'll put that in a box right here. That's one of the things. The other things that we now have to focus on is talent, right? So one of the things that Julie and I often have worked with organizations over the past 4 or 5 months, we were on a huge ramp up where it was all about, retaining top talent or recruiting top talent. And then we have massive furloughs or massive layoffs. And then we have to take a step back from an organizational perspective and say, okay, what are our critical business needs right now? Well, what we found out is they were laying off so many different people that didn't have the skill set to actually maintain productivity, to put out, whether it was a product or a service or, so we missed out on an opportunity to really make sure we had a training and development program that upskilled and reskilled employees. So when you think about that, Ben, if I don't have someone that can do job A, B, and C, and I just laid off the person that does job B and C, I'm stuck, right? Like I have no chance at putting out the product, or if I do put it out, we now sacrifice potential quality, right? So I would say that's a really big focus now as people start to go back to work. That need should still be there. That should not be a focus that just goes away, because we know that economics has a cycle, and there's going to be a time of recession at some point. Why not have our employees already ready to go through that and make sure that, hey, look, I'm investing in you. I want to make sure that you're trained. I want to make sure that you're skilled. So if something like this happens again, we just business as usual.
Yeah, and I guess a question that companies need to ask is, when it comes to reskilling and upskilling, how are you identifying the employees who have the skills that you may need for a certain position? Where is that information housed, right? Are you able to access it right away? Are you able to run reports? And I think having those tools is really important to be able to identify the right people for the jobs that may be available, because we went from more jobs than people to fill those jobs to the worst unemployment numbers pretty much ever, literally overnight. I mean, I don't think it can be understated the challenge that HR and especially recruiters are having right now. And I think that with the furloughs, with the layoffs, with all of that, the employees are even more stressed, right? Because the survivors, if you will, and we can go into survivor guilt on another podcast, but those folks that are there are left to do more work. There's more volume, right? So that just leads to stress. That leads to problems with mental health. It leads to all sorts of productivity issues and burnout. So
yeah.
Well, I was actually writing a piece the other day of all the most exciting topics you can think about. It was about budgeting for the coming year for HR teams. And one of the things I talked about was the last time there was a recession, some of the data that I found around that from what HR leaders were saying, like our biggest priorities right now are similar to what you and Chaz are saying. It's about performance. How do we get the most performance out of the people we have right now? How do we understand what their capabilities are so we don't inadvertently, we can only keep one person and we end up picking the wrong one because we don't know what their skills are and what their capabilities are. So it was really interesting to see how some of those things, from that perspective of going through a really tight and lean time from an HR team perspective, some of those things are surfacing again, all over again. So history can teach us some things about what we're going to go through. Don't ignore it, because then we miss those lessons that it can show us about how to adapt, how to survive, how to hopefully make it through this and then come out the other side. But one of the things that's different is, again, what you two kind of highlighted this. It's one thing to go through a recession where budgets tighten in general all over the place. But it's another to go through it in a time of pandemic where suddenly there's also a tugging force on the HR budget to say, we also need to spend on these new things, these new different requirements. Now we've got to have, PPE in front of everybody, or we've got to have, a new contact tracing app, or we've got to have something else we didn't have before. There's new compliance requirements, which everybody's so excited about, that are changing.
It changes daily.
Yeah.
Every day, it seems like. And so those things make it's not just okay, things are tighter because of recession, because there's this other tug of war with a new thing that's prioritizing the people and the talent in the business.
Yeah, for sure. And you mentioned that contact tracing. I think that it's really important to highlight just how important that is from a safety, security, and trust perspective, to have something in place that if somebody tests positive, you are quickly able to say, okay, these are the folks that might have come in contact with those people. And, especially in larger organizations where you may have people who are in a more concentrated area, right? I mean, that's going to prevent problems with virus spread, and it could really mitigate a super spreading event, if you will. Chaz?
No, that's spot on. One of the things I wanted to comment on what you said, Ben, is once COVID had hit, Julie kind of touched on HR was viewed as paper pushers, admin. We talk about strategic partners and then becoming strategic partners. I think when COVID hit, the organizations that put HR in the box of admin, or we'll just throw everything that we don't want to do at them, completely shifted when it was, oh no, what do we do? Well, who is the person that has contact with people who are in benefits, who are in contact with the organization from a performance perspective, who talk to the executives, who talk to our managers. And all of a sudden the focus shifted and the spotlight was, oh, that's HR. Like that.
Mm-hmm.
So it immediately became this dynamic shift of, wow, okay, you have a seat at the table, or at least we're now going to listen to what you have to say.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So that's what's been so interesting about the past 6 months. And then Julie talks about, contact tracing. That doesn't just limit us from COVID, right? Contact tracing can be utilized for so many other things long term, to where you as an organization can be agile in your decision making for years and years and years to come, right? So it's just one simple data point that's going to help elevate your organization long term. Does that make sense?
Oh, the contact tracing thing, I hadn't thought about that until you just said it, but I ran across a tool a couple of years ago that did something. Now we call it contact tracing, but then it's
Right.
just, we can tell you who you're in proximity to physically. And one of the applications they had for that was, we can tell if your executives are just giving lip service to your DEI initiatives, or if they're actually putting their time, their effort into those
Sure.
communities where they should be. And they could, hey, we're having an event, and you can see how many of them spent time around other people in that event and see how they were actually doing that or not. Do you guys mind if we actually take a question from the audience? Someone just popped a question in here.
Let's do it.
Please.
So here it comes up on screen. Someone said, can you elaborate on what you're saying about time-saving measures a company can take to improve the HR processes? I don't remember which one of you mentioned that one a minute ago, but you dropped that in the conversation. Someone's like,
I think that was me.
So we'll pin that one right on you, Julie.
I mean, gosh, it's almost so broad. There's so many time-saving measures, right? I mean, I think of something really simple. Like, for example, when I was a practitioner, our CEO used to ask, hey, each month, can you give me a list of folks who are having a birthday so I can reach out to them, right? So before I had a system that was able to kind of spit that information out, I used to have to go through manually look, right? Spreadsheets and that kind of thing. It just wasn't easy. But now I can actually, I was able to have a report sent automatically to the CEO. I didn't even have to think about it, right? I know that's a very, very simple example, but that's a time-saving, something I didn't have to worry about. I could focus more on what was happening that day, or HR strategy, or, just assisting the employees.
I'm going to add to that. So there's a couple of different things. I always ask, and Julie, you do the same, what reports are you consistently running on a regular basis? Not just a birthday report, but when someone comes to you because you're the gatekeeper of the data, what reports are they consistently coming to ask you? And it's like, okay, well, I only do 10 reports once a week, and it takes me 5 minutes a report. Okay, that's an hour's worth of work. That's 50 minutes worth of work, right? Something that's so easily eliminated if that report's automatically sent with a solution, right? Mm-hmm. The other one that's a major time saver is recruiting and onboarding, right? So if you have the process from the time that a manager has a position filled, we often look at, recruiting or HR to simply handle that whole entire process. And I'm not saying that's a bad thing, but the manager is the one that's managing the employee or that open requisition. They know the requirements. So why not be able to initiate that requisition request to go through HR, and then once they approve it, it immediately gets published on the World Wide Web, right? So we're talking about, a 5-minute task from a manager, a one-click opportunity from the HR person, and then it gets published, and then coming back into is an entire workflow and process that it goes through, instead of, okay, I need to reach out to this person. I need to reach out to this person. I need to schedule an interview. I need to, I need to, and that list grows. And we see it every day, Ben. I mean, we see it every day. And it's like, why aren't you, well, so-and-so's doing that, and so-and-so's doing that. And we just ask, why? Like, why? So there's a lot of time-saving initiatives there.
Yeah, and a lot of times the answer to that why is because that's the way it's always been done.
That's right.
So taking yeah. So
flashbacks here. Hold on.
Yeah, it's HR folks recognizing that while the way it's always been done may have worked in the past, moving towards a more futuristic view of the employee experience and of work to be frank. That's not the way that things are going to work in the future. So again, Chaz is right about that onboarding. Yeah.
Get really, really in depth with generations and experiences and expectations, Ben, but we might want to save that for another day.
Yeah, we could do another podcast on generations at work.
Well, I was gonna say that horse and buggy works, but is it the best?
Yeah.
Yeah. And certainly not to put down companies. It's more from my perspective. It's, I want to help you do what I didn't do, right? There are tools out there that are going to help you. Please take them. That's what I want to say.
One of the ways I always couch it when I'm talking to someone about this kind of thing is, remember, this is not an indictment on you or your performance or your capability as a professional. This is a process improvement exercise for the business. And your business wants these outcomes. If I told you could have less stress, not spend an hour of your time having to click and drag this report over there and send this in an email. Like, if you've got some of that time back to do other things that actually excite you, that's something that every HR leader would be like, sign me up for that. Right? Yes, more time for developing our leadership bench so we can have them ready for next time we need to move someone up in the business. Like, yes, let's get on that. Or hiring that next amazing person that fits our culture and has the values that we share as a company, and they want to serve our customers. Like, yes, let's do those things. We don't have time for that stuff sometimes because it's too far down the list after we've run the reports and done the job requisitions and all the fun stuff you were saying, Chaz. Like, those things just pull away at our time.
Yeah, it's small steps, because then you think about, so we get exposed to a lot of different systems, a lot of different things. And I think about the artificial intelligence component, and then people are like, oh, like they almost have a heart attack, where it's like, no, I actually want the system to give me recommendations on, things like time off requests, time off approvals, or if a position opens, a recommendation on, oh, this person has the skill set that could backfill this position, right? Like that, to me, those are decisions that I can trust data to make day in and day out, because you still get to filter through who's going to be selected for that position, right? We're not taking that away, but we're going to say, hey, here's 3 people that, need time off because they're almost on the verge of burnout and they're a flight risk. That should be a no-brainer, right? Like that should be a no-brainer. They don't feel obligated to take the time off. System's going to recommend to say, hey, go talk to that person so you can keep them around and get them to take some time off.
Yes, absolutely. That's, again, we could spend a lot of time on that piece too. That's something I'm super passionate about.
We just need to do a series, Ben.
Oh, goodness gracious.
Yeah.
And next week on the Chaz and Julie Show.
Hey, I like the sound of that.
Oh, goodness. So we are coming up close to the end of our time here. If someone wants to find out more about what you and the rest of the amazing team are up to, there's a new URL, correct? So people can check that out.
Yeah, new URL, ukg.com. Literally just went live Friday. So
brand new.
Yeah, it just went live Friday. So ukg.com. And of course, you can always add Julie and I on LinkedIn if you want to continue the conversation there, Ben. And I know that you and I and Julie will continue conversation offline. So
yes, absolutely. Everybody else, again, ping them on LinkedIn. They want to connect. They want to meet more of you. Julie's in her mission to don't make the mistakes I did. We can be great together. Right?
Yeah, and I'm happy to send links to those articles and webinars that I've done also if folks are interested.
Wonderful. Thank you to both of you for your time. I appreciate you and the work you're doing to serve the community. It's something I'm thankful for, and I know that the people you're working with are thankful as well.
Well, thank you, Ben. It was a pleasure being here. Look forward to chatting more in the future.
Thank you. To everybody else, thanks for hanging out. For the comments, we got some really good feedback and interaction already. And if you're watching this on replay, thank you for that as well. We appreciate you. Have a good one.
See you guys.
Bye, everyone.